Hi, I'm Dom Lewis, and we're here to talk about Man in the High Castle and other musical stuff and whatever comes up, I guess.
Dom, thank you so much for inviting me here to your studio. I've been, a huge fan of your music, so it's great to sit one-on-one to talk. So
it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for doing all this.
Of course. So let's start from the beginning. I want to go all the way back to the beginning, because your accent, it's is it Tennessee, Kentucky? I don't know. So going back from England, so describe your childhood growing up and kind of what were the ingredients that kind of sparked something musically in your life.
Well, both my parents are musicians.
That helps.
Yeah, that was a big thing. My mum's a singer. My dad's a cellist.
Okay.
And I think I was three when I started cello. I wanted to be just like Dad.
Right.
And my sister's also very musical. So my household was always filled with music, whether it was Mum singing opera or Dad practicing or the quartet would rehearse. My dad was in a very famous quartet, the Medici String Quartet. Right. So they would rehearse at the house. And then, the stereo was always on.
Yeah.
So right from the very beginning, it was all music, really.
And, were you playing in bands? Did you focus more on composition or kind of more instrumental music, or was it different styles that kind of led you to that?
It was very much cello up until, I don't know, I think I started singing around 7 or 8, but I was a boy soprano. Uh-huh. So it's very much cello, and also we would always listen to music in the car, so I was obsessed with the Beatles and the Beach Boys. And then as I got a little older, sort of approaching teenager, I got into bands, and that's all I wanted to do. I found the guitar, and all I wanted to do was write songs and perform. And the cello sort of went that way, and the kind of performing thing came into the forefront. And then I guess around 13, 14, they mixed, and the band kind of wasn't enough. Right. I wanted other things. I wanted horns, I wanted strings, I wanted other stuff.
Right.
So I would start doing arrangements with the band, and then the band grew and got bigger, and so it evolved that way. And
so what led to the journey here to Los Angeles? What was that gap between you? Okay, I'm here in England, I need to go there. Was that the thought process? I need to go there when did, film music, or did that push you here, film music, or was it something else?
It was film music, yeah. From that age, I was always listening to film music, the obvious ones like John Williams and Hans and Jerry Goldsmith and Alan Silvestri and all those guys.
Yeah.
But actually, I was at school with Rupert Grayson Williams' daughter, stepdaughter, Sadie, and as I started getting more involved in wanting to go down the path of writing orchestral music, I didn't realise her stepdad was Rupert.
Right.
And it was her 15th or 16th birthday, and Rupert was there. So of course I was a bit starstruck.
Yeah.
But somehow we ended up coming to the agreement that I could go down to his studio and hang out with him, and that was a continuous thing. So I think I was around 16, 17, and Rupert said to me, he was like, well, Harry is coming over from LA, he's doing Shrek, you should go check out the session.
Wow.
So I did, and my dad was playing on it. My dad is a session musician in London, so after the quartet he went into that, and I was just completely blown away.
Wow.
And it was just it was a spark. I have to do this. So after that I kept in contact with Rupert, and I would continually go down there and hang out, and he'd be working on loads of different things, obviously, and at the time I think he was smoking, and he'd get up to have a cigarette or go get a coffee or something, and he'd say to me, Savas, and just play around. So I did. So I was 15, 16, I was learning programming and music to picture.
Wow.
And then eventually I went to the Academy, the Royal Academy of Music, all the time still in contact with Rupert, and would send him stuff, and so he was a big mentor in my life. And then eventually when I finished the Academy, the idea was to work for him,
right?
but nothing was. He didn't have any opportunities for me at that point. So he said, get yourself out to LA. I'll put in a good word for you. So that was that really. I got some money together for the ticket and got out and met Hans, met Steve, and I was hanging around for a long time. And actually, Emlyn, one of the violinists from London, the London Session Orchestra, was coming out to meet with John Powell because they went to college together. And I got invited to the dinner, and John and I got talking, and Thanksgiving. He said, "Come over Thanksgiving. Everyone's leaving, and I need this movie to get done," which was How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh wow! Okay.
And he said, "We'll do like a 3-day trial thing."
Yeah.
And I just stayed. It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that's I guess that's the start. I don't even know if that's what you were asking, but that's what happened.
So, and you started working, with John, but also you started building relationships, with Hans and Henry too, especially. And you did take that path that John took and Henry took, kind of under Hans and everything. And that kind of mentor apprentice kind of role, is that something that you would recommend is the way to learn? But is that ideally how you think it should be done to learn the business? I mean, I
was extremely lucky. Ideally, that is the perfect way, and I still have to pinch myself now that I'm sitting here in my own studio at remote control and I'm doing projects by myself after not that much time. So ideally, that is the way to go.
Yeah.
Just, get given a gig and not have to do any runner things or tech things But I think the reality is a lot of people have to work their way up. I was just very lucky that I knew the right people, and then once I was put in the situation, I didn't mess it up.
Right. So would you say that you need... I always hear that you need either... Well, I always think that you need people like, you have to be lucky to get to make it in this business, or you have to be talented to make it in this business. I think you have to have a little bit of both.
It's definitely both.
And it has to strike at the right time to have that luck and talent.
Definitely, because you can have all the talent in the world and, not have the right opportunities, and you'll be struggling. And there are plenty of people who do.
Right.
But going back to the question, this place is the best college you could ever hope for. I mean, you'd learn more in a day around this place than you would in 2-3 years of college. It's incredible. I mean, the great thing now is that they're allowing the runners to sit in and watch the composers, and there's an interaction. Before it was just getting food and just being available, but now they're actually encouraging the learning process, which is awesome.
And as you as a composer and all the other composers who sit around here, because this environment is this like house of people working on different projects and everything, are you able to just pop into whatever Lauren's room or whatever and be like, hey, let me listen to what you're doing?
All the time.
And that must be great to see what he's doing on a project that you're not working on, and kind of see let me try what he's doing here. And is it kind of that kind of cross-pollination of not just like sounds of thing, but like the style of the approach? And
I mean, we don't go around nicking other people's stuff, but we're always popping in on each other. Matt Marchson and I are always visiting each other. And I have a really close relationship with Al Clay. Yeah. Even when he's not mixing my stuff or producing Kung Fu Panda or whatever he's doing, he's always doing something really cool in there, and we're very close. So we pop in, and it's really great. It's nice because it's such a solo thing to be in this room with no windows and no doors.
I don't know when it's sun or dark.
Exactly. So it's nice just to be able to pop out and go, I'll go and see Matt, or I'll go and see Al, or I'll go pop in on Henry or whatever. It's really, really great, and it does help creatively.
Oh,
it
sure.
does.
It sparks. Get where you're hit a writer's block or something. You just go walk.
How did you do that?
So let's jump into Man with the High Castle, which is a new series on Amazon Prime, which is I want to talk about that kind of digital space later. But I know this. I heard about this series I feel like it was been a year or two ago. The pilot kind of surfaced, and then they did it put on the back burner or something, and then now they're coming out on the 20th of this month. They're releasing all the episodes.
Yes.
Because didn't Henry or somebody do the pilot, or was it you?
We did it together.
We did, okay, that's
yeah,
right.
we did it together. And I think even before that, it was pitched to BBC and someone else, but it never really happened.
Right.
And Amazon said yes, please, and so the way that came about, I was eating lunch in the cafeteria in the other building over there, and Henry just came and sat down next to me and said, I've got this thing, I don't think I can do it by myself. I'm really busy, but I need some help. I don't know if they're even, you know how Henry is. I don't know if they're going to go for it. And, I'll say that it was a co-write thing. And he was just like, but the gist was that, would you help me? It would be a co-credit and all that kind of thing. And he told me it was scot-free and Amazon and the subject material, and it was Philip K. Dick book.
Right, of course, the novel.
So, of course, I was like, yes, I'll do it, definitely. And we did the pilot about this time last year, actually.
Okay, so a year ago.
And the way Amazon's working now is they release their pilots and they see
like
who's liking,
season,
who's not liking.
Yeah. So
And whichever does the best, they pick up. So we heard around late January, February that they were going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're scot-free, and Amazon asked us to do it. And we said, yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's such an interesting story because it's an alternate history. What if the Germans or what the Nazis won World War II and occupied, America and all that stuff. So when you started to approach this, I mean, what was your approach? What was it looking at it as it's in the 50s or 60s, or did that dictate the sound of the music that you were going to approach, or what was kind of the kind of hook to you to say, okay, I know what direction to go in for this?
It was a tricky one, and it was a conversation that, it was a conversation that carried on throughout the whole process.
Right.
What would the music be? In a completely different history, what would it be? And that sort of switched, the focus for that switched to the source material.
Right.
And the score kind of just became the sound of the show.
So would you get to create a sound for the show that
create
your own history that wasn't there before, in a sense?
It wasn't. I mean, I'd like to say it was that involved, but I don't think the show needed that.
Yeah.
The main emphasis of it is, especially with the pilot, is we wanted to keep it very intimate and small, and I think we managed that. But then when episode 2 came around, it was like, wow, this has got big and epic.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go down the huge route, but I had to expand a little bit and get a little bigger, because we were adamant that it had to be very character based and very small. And Henry played a lot of piano on the pilot. I played a lot of cello, and there were lots of small kind of mysterious magical bells, and that would be offset with the odd crazy sounds.
Yeah. Not
crazy, but synth sounds.
Right.
And a lot as we moved through the show, that was the way we would come up with that. As we take an organic element, say we use a lot of struck chime stuff, and then I would stretch it to make it into pads and more sound designy things to sort of set the score a little. To be a bit weird and creepy.
Right.
And there's a lot of that stuff. And especially after the pilot with the main titles being Edelweiss and that kind of weird, creepy version of Edelweiss, I sort of nicknamed that feeling the Edelweiss method. So with a lot of the themes that come a bit later in the show, there is that like major theme. Major being, what we would normally think as happy tonality,
right,
as opposed to minor that we think is sad.
Right.
So I'd take the major aspect of the melody and offset it with whether it was, low cellos or something dark underneath, and you sort of get that weird, creepy, I don't really know where I am with this. Right. It feels safe, but it isn't safe.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that in the show with all the different characters. You never really know where you are.
Right.
So, with the show being so awesome, and it kind of told us what to do, rather than having to find it. It came pretty naturally.
Right. So it wasn't too much of experimentation or questioning, or was there a lot? Did you have to kind of try things out and see what stuck, or did you?
Of course, but we had our tent poles. We had our cello and our piano and our clarinet, and because we wanted that organic element and that Western element, and then the other things around it would offset it and put it in the different world.
Okay.
So having those there initially from the pilot was great, and then it just sort of expanded, whether it was in size, so it would be a cello section, or woodwinds. It was really, really fun the way evolved over the season because it would get bigger and bigger, and then it would get smaller for an episode, and then you have to go big, and it was really great, and every week was different. And it wasn't like with TVs, a lot of the time you have to do the same thing over and over again, because that's just the way the show works. That's the layout of the show. But with this, every week was different. It's like a big movie.
And how many episodes is it? It's like
10.
10. So
including the pilot.
Including the pilot. That's kind of the model that's kind of going. We have the network shows, broadcast shows that are 22 episodes, whatever, per season, and now a lot of the cable networks and of course the digital streaming places, are the smaller, more condensed seasons, which I think work so much better because they're more focused. Nothing is filler. And so if it was only 10 episodes, did they give you kind of the story arc for the entire 10 episodes off the bat, or were you just kind of scoring episode by episode as they gave it to you?
I got the script well in advance, which is really cool, actually. And
so were you able to kind of sketch something that was... Did you look at it as one big... Okay, I'm sketching... this is episode 8's going to come in, or were you just kind of taking it one at a time?
I took it one at a time, but with the knowledge of what's happening down the line, because I had been given the scripts.
Right.
And they're really awesome. When you read something, and most of the time, it appears that they make a movie of a book, or that they adapt something, and you kind of go, yeah, I guess. But I read the scripts, and then I would get a picture, and I would watch it and go, how are you in my head? From script to actually being a thing, It was amazing. It was so close to the script, and it blew me away every time I watch a new episode, because that's exactly how I thought it would be. So that was great, because obviously after reading a script, I would think of, okay, what needs to happen musically.
And are you thinking about that when you read the script?
Yeah, sure.
That's already popping in your head.
Yeah.
Oh, this is an opportunity here or something.
For sure.
Before they shoot it.
Oh yeah. So the whole process was very much like a movie.
Yeah.
I've worked on a few TV things now, and it's very it's the same thing, but it needs to be different because it's the same layout. But this was just like a big movie, which was great.
Yeah. So, well, I can't wait to... It's one of the movies coming out on the 20th, and they're releasing all episodes at once.
Mm-hmm.
So
1 and 2 is online right now.
Right, that's right.
If you have Prime.
If you have Prime, which I do.
But actually, it was the whole way it was conceived, so I was told, was around this whole binge watching culture that we now live in. So it was quite important to think about that when writing music as well, because obviously you don't want too much repetition, because although it's the next episode and within another show, perhaps you have to wait a week to hear it.
Right.
You don't. People are just going to click next. So you can't have too many themes banging into each other from episode to episode. So that was again like a movie.
Right. So talking about binge watching, and that is kind of the thing, like Netflix and Amazon, and they kind of... HBO still does it week to week. They air their episodes every week. But what do you prefer? And you just said you kind of took that into consideration when people are binge watching. But what do you feel that does for a viewer? Do you like binge watching? Do you like powering through everything, or would you rather pace yourself and then maybe talk with your friends, like, oh, did you watch it this week? And be like, oh no, I already watched everything. It's like, well, it's spoiler culture and everything that's going on. Do you think binge watching is good, or do you think it's like kind of you're chowing down your food, not enjoying the meal? What do you think?
I think there's a place for both, for sure. And there's something... I'm a big Game of Thrones fan.
Right.
And oftentimes I'll intentionally miss a week and record it, so I get that next bit.
Yeah.
So I'm inherently gearing towards binge watching, I guess.
Build up a queue for yourself.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
But I can't lie. I love binge watching. The amount of times I've gone to bed with the laptop open and started a series, and then it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and you got a meeting with, whether it's Hans or Jeffrey Katzenberg or something really important, and you're like, why did I do that? But again, it's exciting.
Well,
I like it.
What have been your favorite shows to binge watch?
Oh, I've binge watched Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
Actually, I was fortunate enough to kind of miss the second season of Game of Thrones and just plow through it,
Went through.
which was awesome. What else? Loads of Netflix stuff. A lot of British shows.
That's right. They have a lot of stuff
on Netflix.
Yeah.
Luther, which I love. If
Right.
you haven't seen, you have to watch Luther.
Oh, yeah, Luther's great.
Oh, you have seen it?
Yeah.
It's amazing. And Waking the Dead, which is another English show.
Which I have not seen.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cold case thing.
Okay, cool.
I went through a phase of binge watching Law and Order, SVU. And then I found myself getting really depressed with all the crimes. So maybe something a bit cheerier. But now TV for me, because I'm working so much, it has to like engage me or I'm gone.
Right. And that's the culture I think we live in now. I mean, it's everything has to hook you right off the bat, or it doesn't stick. And I mean, and I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing, because certain shows now. I mean, talking about your personal experience with The Player just now, it got canceled. Which,
Yeah.
You know, after how many episodes was it?
9.
9. So I mean,
Yeah.
it got good. Some shows are after 2 or 3 episodes, they don't even let it breathe now. But I think TV is starting to embrace that people are discovering it later on and not week to week when it premieres. But I mean, do you think stuff needs to be allowed room to breathe and grow, or I mean, do you have to nail it right off the bat? I mean, creatively,
It's tough.
like,
I think whether we agree with it or not, I think you have to nail it right off the bat because there's so much competition. There's so much stuff out there. You know, The Player came up against a number of different obstacles. You know, it was Thursday night football night.
Yeah.
It was at that 10 o'clock slot, which is not great and hasn't been great for a long time.
Right.
So they were already on the back foot. So, and it's not, you know, it got a bit of a bad rep with the Rotten Tomatoes, and that's another thing we have to take into account. You know, anyone can review something. No, you don't have to be an actual. You can be a guy in your room reviewing stuff.
Yeah.
And
like this guy. Huh?
well, that's unfair on you. You're a very talented reviewer. But you know, any little kid can review something, and it has an effect on how the movie does, which is kind of crazy.
What do you think that says about people? Do you think people they'll look at something and make a decision based on what someone else does? Like I don't know
whether I should comment on that guy.
But looking at other movies and stuff, you look at something like The Lone Ranger, which I love that movie.
Right.
I love westerns. The movie got 30%, 20% bombed. Like, cost Disney $250 million. You're never going to make another western again. But it's like every time I ask someone, I'm like, "Hey, did you see the movie?" And they go, "No."
Yeah, I know.
Why don't you go see it and form your own opinion?
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I really do. And you know, Freebirds, my first movie.
Right.
It's a cute little movie. It's not going to change the world.
Right.
But it totally got out of hand with the whole vegan message, which it wasn't a thing at all. It got an 18% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And now things just come out. Now it's gone on Netflix. This guy, I can't remember his name now. I've forgotten it. But he just did kind of another review saying, "Listen, guys, this is actually quite a cute movie.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix. You should watch it. It's Thanksgiving. It's not that bad."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe all those movies will get justice at one point.
And that's what we used to look at Netflix and Amazon, what they're doing, and something like Man with the High Castle. Or not everyone's going to watch it on the day they release the episodes. I feel like, and that's perfect because people will discover it later on, and the ratings week to week are not going to be the defining factor of whether the show survives or not. So I think that digital platform is good for stuff like this, where it's like really creatively rich, and maybe it's for a special audience or something, but people will find it kind of on their own instead of being forced.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about your work habits. Are you a night owl? Do you like to work in small pockets of time? Like when I talk to other composers, it's funny how some people are like, "Oh yeah, I like to work through the middle of the night and go home in the morning," or do you like to have your nights? But you're also a father now.
I'm a dad, so it makes it very difficult to have any sort of schedule.
So how does that work? Well, you're balancing family life and work life, which I've talked to in composers I feel like have the hardest time with.
Yeah, it's rough.
So difficult.
If you're asking me how I balanced that over the last 6 months, I'd say I didn't, and it's been really, really tough. The last 6 months has been really tough because I was doing 18, 19-hour days because the turnaround's so quick and all these things. And then you go home and it's 4 a.m. and you have a screaming child and you don't sleep. But when it's my choice and I have control over it,
Right.
I like early mornings. I didn't used to be that way.
Yeah.
When I first started with Zim, I wouldn't leave. I'd kind of sleep from 5 to 1 on that couch. It was in a different room, and just get up and work into the night again because
Right.
I was younger and no responsibilities, and that's just the way my brain would work, and
Right.
I'd become awake then. But now early mornings helps, and it also, I'm fortunate enough to live pretty close to the studio, so I get to go home and spend time with the family, and that I tend to be most creative early morning. And it was the same on Freebirds before the little one came along.
Yeah.
I would get up. I was doing that at John's, so I get the nice drive up to the top of John's
I know
place,
that winding road, my God.
and I had a window, so I was looking out over Santa Monica Beach and the amazing views from up there. So it was nice to be up in the morning so I could see it all.
Yeah. And so I just lost my train of thought. Let's see. So beyond scoring, and you have your family and you're a dad now, and that's probably taking up most of your time. But what other hobbies, things you do outside of this room that whether creative refresh you? I know you're a huge sports fan.
I'm a big sports
You're a
fan,
huge sports fan.
specifically basketball and the Clippers.
Right.
And my wife always tells me she created a monster. Because she took me, for my birthday, however many years ago it was, she took me to a Clippers game. And I was sold. Now I'm a season ticket holder. I have like 10 jerseys. I'm super obsessive and annoying to most people who I watch the game with. But I like to play as well. I try and play every Tuesday night and every Sunday morning.
You guys have like a league going? Like
No, it's just pick up stuff.
Yeah.
I'm English. I'm not very good. So it's nice. It's nice to be.
Not with your hands.
Right. It's not a bad standard, and I've got a lot better.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I started playing kind of around the Freebirds time because John's got a net on his tennis court up there.
I know. Yeah.
So just to, if I needed a break, I'd go out there and just shoot.
Okay.
And then I got really into it, and now I've got the whole get up with the long sock things and the LeBrons and all the jerseys and stuff. No, I'm not quite there yet. Not quite with the headband yet, but maybe. My hair is thinning, so I'll probably get the headband going soon.
So, another kind of hypothetical question: if you could be any other role on a film besides the composer, what would you like to do, or maybe attempt to do?
I kind of would want to be an actor, I think.
An actor?
Mm-hmm.
Have you acted before?
Yeah, I did a lot at school. My sister's an actress.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a brief point when I didn't think I was going to get into the Royal Academy that I was entertaining the thought of going to drama school. So it would have to be actor. I've always been a bit of an attention seeker.
Is your friend right here?
Yeah. And I really enjoy it, and I think that's why I love performing and why I miss performing, because I used to do a lot of band, as we talked about earlier, band and
albums.
I did, yeah.
So are you trying to get back into that more now, a little bit more on the performing side?
I'm always trying to when I have time. I'm
Yeah.
always trying to do that.
Yeah.
I think the reason the EP came about is because I didn't have any work, so I was like, I get very itchy fingers when I don't work. I can holiday for about 2 weeks, and then my wife will be like, "What's wrong with you? Go play something," and then I'm fine. But I think the performing and the acting thing is linked, because I weirdly love being on stage and playing to lots of people, and that's kind of narcissistic, isn't it? But I think we've all got a little bit of narcissist in us. I love it. And I really, really miss it. And sometimes I get a chance to do. We have a friend who's a KCRW DJ called Valida, and she does a night at the one of the hotels in Hollywood. It's completely gone from my brain. Standard. She does desert nights there where she sets up a really cool atmosphere, and it's mainly acoustic stuff. So I've done that a few times, and Dee Clay, who's Al Clay's wife, we sometimes do duet stuff together.
Wow.
So I'd love to do that more. I'd love to do a show of the EP at some point, maybe in the new year. There's nothing lined up quite yet for me to be in this room working, so I do miss it.
So So let's before we kind of wrap up, I'd like to talk a little bit about kind of, a lot of composers are getting into the business, and when you get started, I feel like you're in this position where you have to kind of, how do you get your voice heard? How do you make your mark? What is the Dom Lewis sound? I mean, you're working under all these big composers, Henry, Hans, John, which I'm sure you end up kind of, have a little John Powell in your fingers because you're working on their scores. But when comes time to build your own image and your own sound, is it hard to kind of get away from the shadow of those guys and kind of be like, I am Dom, hear me roar,
right.
Yeah. Kind of thing. Is that something you work on as a composer to establish your own sound, or you really are just trying to do what you're told, make sure the directors and the producers are happy? Like, how do you kind of find that balance?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that I do have my own sound,
yeah, of
but
course you do.
I think that comes from being around so many of these amazing people.
Right.
That it's one sort of trying to be like them and not being able to.
Yeah.
As well as, the big classical composers as well. John's always said the same thing. The reason he has a sound is because he's trying to sound like Debussy and Strauss and all these people. But he says, I don't quite get there, but that's my sound. So I think there's a lot of that in me too. But also you have to serve the picture. So there's always that to take into account. But I'm just trying to... I think if you do what comes naturally and what you like, and you get inspiration from what you listen to and all that kind of stuff, it just happens. Because I've done a few things. I find myself going to those places, which I remember doing before,
right.
And I go, that sounds like me, so I continue to do that.
Right.
And not copying stuff I've done before, but having the same feel.
Right.
So I don't know if that answers the question,
yeah.
It's really tricky, and
yeah.
I think it's even trickier with electronic music.
True, because everyone has this kind of similar tools.
Right, and there's so many things out there now, and being new and cool and fresh and always being the next thing it's just going so fast. The next thing is always there already,
and someone wants the next thing.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's really, really tricky.
Because I was talking about that with a little bit last night, how. And not so much in the movie business, but in the game business. I mean, you're not in the game business, but a lot of composers, there's like a kind of a lack of continuity in franchises there, where a composer will do some iconic work and then they need something fresh or new, so they toss them aside and try to find. So you're always the composer who have to be like, oh, am I fresh? Am I new? Is it? I mean, is it kind of like a identity crisis for you? Or are you kind of try to reinvent yourself? Do you have to reinvent yourself to kind of see what is popular? I mean,
I think maybe I might. I'm so young in this business that I'm not there yet, I don't think. I'm just trying to come up with cool stuff that I like and trying to get the other people to like it, so it stays in the film and I don't get fired. But it's really, really tricky.
Yeah.
But I think
you've succeeded, though.
Thank you.
Because,
thank you.
Yeah, Freebirds and Spooks especially, which I know a lot of people in America haven't experienced, but it's
got a release date, I think. Not a date, but it's
they're
getting...
releasing it as MI5 here now.
Yes.
Yes, I saw the poster.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's coming.
So you're going to get to see it.
Yes.
But I think that's an important thing for me, is to do not just one genre.
Right.
So I'm constantly getting inspired by different things, which then eventually is going to help me reach the goal of being... People go, oh, that sounds just like Dom Lewis. In the same way that you hear 3 notes from Tom Newman and you go, okay, it's a Tom Newman score.
Yeah.
Having that amount of identity, because for some composers you have to listen to more than 3 seconds to get who it is, but with someone like Tom, it's like, wow, it's so distinctive. And with Hans,
Yeah, Hans, John, I mean...
Yeah, and to get, that's where we all want to get.
Right. To be, I guess, an auteur of your craft.
Right.
Yeah, and establish your sound.
And I hope I have that in me. I think I'm getting there. I'm definitely, when I'm writing new stuff, I find myself recognizing it from past things and that kind of style. So I don't think I'm quite there yet. But that's not that I'm not writing good music, because if I don't think that, then what's the point?
Right.
But other people don't have to think that.
Well, you are writing good music, and
thank you.
I'm enjoying the ride, along with your ride going in your career as a listener. So it's been an awesome encounter.
Thank you, and thank you for your support as well. You've been great.
and I can't wait to dive into Man with the High Castle.
It's amazing. It really is amazing. I'm very, very proud of it. And not just of the music, of the whole show. It's just a really classy outfit. It's been... I miss it, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot of work, but I miss it.
Well, hopefully season 2 will be...
Fingers crossed.
Coming down the line.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, Dom, thank you so much. I'm out of questions, but we'll definitely have to do this again sometime.
Definitely, and thank you so much for coming down.
Yeah.
It's been really fun.
Yeah, great.
Thanks.